reaching beyond the borders into the unknown. Welcome to Paranormal Investigations of Oklahoma.
Creepy, causing an unpleasant feeling of unease. Hello everyone, this is Kale Epperson and welcome to this episode of Paranormal Investigations of Oklahoma, and creepy is the word of the day. And the reason for that is because of my investigations this past weekend. Back-to-back investigations, folks. Saturday night, we investigated the old Mercantile building down in Guthrie, Oklahoma. And what a crazy time that was. Right next door, another team was investigating. And we just had some weird stuff, some weird, creepy stuff going on. Now, while we're investigating this location, what kind of freaked us out a little bit is during the investigation, we are using the Ovilus 3. And on the Ovilus itself, it said the name of the leader of the group that was investigating next door. She is a co-founder of the group, and it kind of surprised me that the Ovilus said her name. Once the Ovilus said her name, it came up with another word, and it said laugh. We're kind of confused at this. Like, why would it say her name? Why would it say laugh right afterwards? Then we heard it. We heard sirens from the distance coming closer and closer and closer. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, we're down in this basement area. That sounds a little close. Let's go find out what it is. So we broke up our investigation and we went outside. And when we rounded the corner, we could see red and blue lights. We hustled around the corner and we did realize that the ambulance was next door with this team. And basically, I guess they had someone that joined them on their investigation and something happened to them. And the name on the Ovilus of the team leader, it wasn't her, but it was just somebody that joined up with them. Now, we never did find out what really happened. Usually when incidents happen amongst teams, we don't share it with other team members or other groups. And a lot of that's due to privacy, especially if it's a medical condition. But we did find it fascinating that we got a response on the Ovilus that said someone's name. It said laughter. And then there was an emergency situation. So the question is, did a ghost do something to this person? I don't know. I wasn't there at their investigation. But it seems odd that when we get a response like that, I just found that creepy. Just outright creepy. Now, this person is fine. Don't get worried. I think they continued on with the investigation. But apparently this other group got a lot of activity like we did. Apparently on their video they got a full-fledged apparition on their infrared cameras. How exciting. Absolutely exciting. We had quite a bit of activity ourselves. Ovilus responses, K2 responses. But just the thought of maybe an upset ghost did something to another person is just downright creepy. Sunday night, the team, we went out to the most glorious location that you could ever think of in investigating. Now on the air, I can't release what the location was due to our privacy with the client. But this was a large location. This happened this Sunday night, and I am still hyped up over this investigation. Sunday night, it just thundered and lightning and just poured rain. The night reminded me of a horror flick. It was just downright creepy. We get to this location. It is a large location, 3 levels. And we're getting a tour of this location. Some of the lights work. Some of them don't. I like to consider the location an abandoned location just because it was abandoned. It's still owned by somebody. But the moment you would get into this location, it reminded me of being in a monster movie, in a horror movie. As I'm walking through this building, I walk past this room. It's a recreational room. And as I'm looking inside, my first thought is one of the Freddy Krueger movies. I think it's called Dream Warriors, where the kids are in the recreation room. This whole area reminded me of that Nightmare on Elm Street movie. So you're walking down these dark hallways and you're expecting some monster, some creature to jump out at you. Well, it didn't happen. There's no monsters, no creepy things in there. But the energy in this place was so thick. I'm not going to lie to you, I was sick to my stomach. The energy was very, very thick. If you're a spiritualist, you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes the energy from ghosts can be so overwhelming, your body just can't handle it. You really have to shield. But sometimes that just doesn't help. Several occasions I had to step outside just to get some fresh air. We did the tour of the building, and I got to one room. In this room, there's this metal door. And with this metal door, on the inside of it is claw marks, where somebody was inside at one time. There's names carved on there, dirty words carved on there. Very small window to look out of. And as I'm looking at this door, I'm mesmerized by this door. And as I'm looking at it, I'm getting an impression. But like I say on every one of my shows, just keep an open mind. Back to it, as I'm staring at this door, I about like phase out of my own reality. I start getting visions of a man. As I'm visualizing this, I can see this person on the inside as he's carving these words on the door. He's scruffy looking. He's a white male, real skinny. He's wearing like the scrub type outfit, and it's all white, short sleeved, and he looks absolutely like he's out of his mind. So immediately I know this is where I want to put a recorder. I want to put a digital recorder in this room because I want to find out what's going on. What kind of happenings. Maybe we'll get some evidence out of this room. So after the grand tour, I mean, it's still thundering, it's still lightning. Lights are flickering on and off. You can sense that you're not alone inside this building. You can tell by the feeling that there are entities that are in this building. Now, normally when I do my podcast, I'm real scientific. I'm very scientific when I do these podcasts, but I try to do the spiritual side, and I can't help it. With this investigation, it was completely wild. When we did our investigation of the building, you could walk into a room and you could tell there was someone else with you that did not want you to go into this room. I went in. The air's thick, the air's heavy. Folks, this has to be one of the most coolest, most neatest investigation I ever went on. Craziness. Absolute craziness is the easiest word I could say about this location. I literally felt like I'm in a monster horror flick. I'm just waiting for something to jump out at me. The energy was high. I think it was one of our best investigations, and hopefully we get to come back. At one time, we're on the second level of this large location, and we're checking out different rooms and stuff. And in the hallway, we heard a woman scream. Screaming like a banshee, screaming like a crazy person. It sent chills up your spine. We heard this several times throughout the night. We'd just hear some random lady screaming. There should be no reason for it. We're the only ones inside this building. We were locked down. We had the keys in our hand. To get out, you have to literally unlock a door. So just a thought of us being in there with some type of ghost or entity that was screaming was creepy. I think it was a great investigation. We did hear disembodied voices. One time we heard a woman say hello. Another time she said, "How are you?" I did the investigation in the room where I had the empathic vision. We set up a tape recorder in there, or a digital recorder, basically is what it is. Our lead tech set up his infrared camera, and we sat in there and we did a sit down. And as I'm asking my questions, something touched me on the back of my neck. A short time later during the questioning, our lead tech, something grabs him by the ear. Now, during this time, we separated between men and women. You know, me and the lead tech went in one room, the girls went down another way. And then we flip-flopped. And as the ladies were in there doing their investigation, and of course they don't know our experiences. We didn't tell them our experiences in the room. But we ended up finding out later that one of the female investigators got touched in the same room on the ear. Coincidence? I don't think so. While these ladies are down in the room we were in before, me and the tech decided we're going to go down the hallway. Let's see what we can find out. As we're going down this hallway, we walk into a pocket of ice cold air. And you can feel the 9-volt. And when I mean 9-volt, the hair is standing up on your arms. You can feel it standing up on your neck. And you can tell there was a presence of a person next to you. Now, with our investigation that night, we didn't use spirit boxes or ovuluses. We went in old school. We went hardcore old school. Cameras and recorders. Old school. And this location, as large as it is, it was more like a walk-around investigation. You walk and stop, ask questions, and move on, and do the same thing further down. But back to it, the tech's got this high-tech microphone. Very expensive, very sensitive, and we could hear someone coming down the hallway. We could hear like shuffling of feet or a gown shuffling. And you're looking down the hallway and there's no one there. Absolutely no one. And we're looking at each other like, this is why we're in the field. This is why we are here to look for ghosts, to look for paranormal activity. It was one of the creepiest places I ever been. Hopefully we get to go back. We were at one section in the building, and as we're, doing our talking and asking questions, we heard a piano playing. There is a piano that's in this building, but it's on the first level, but we could hear it playing. Hopefully we got all of that on a recorder. We did have a recorder near the piano downstairs, so hopefully when we go back and listen, we can hear the piano actually playing. What a great time. I tell you what, I'm still psyched up about it. Absolutely psyched up about it. You know, when you're a hardcore paranormal researcher, a paranormal investigator, you know you're hardcore when that Saturday you worked in the morning, investigated at night, then Sunday you worked, investigated that night, and then Monday you worked a freaking 12-hour shift. That's hardcore. That is hardcore. You're probably thinking you're freaking crazy going without sleep like that, but you know what? It's worth it. It's hard to find time to do these investigations. And on Sunday night, it was one of those rare opportunities to go into a location where no one has ever investigated there before. No team has set foot in this building at all. The team that I am on, we were the first to set foot in that building and to do a proper paranormal investigation. How crazy is that? How wild to go into a creepy building. I wish I could tell you where we went. It's just burning me up inside. I want to tell you so bad where I went, but I can't. Oh, I wish I could tell you guys. Yes, I'm still stoked. I am fired up. I want to go back to this location so bad. I've been to a lot of locations, folks. I've been to a lot. I've been to hospitals. I've been to old houses, different businesses and museums. I've been to a lot of locations. But this particular location just blew me out of the water with all the activity that was happening that night. Truthfully, with putting this podcast together, I really didn't have a subject matter to talk about. I'm just psyched up over this investigation. It's the wildest and craziest thing I've ever been on. Our team leader, she is just psyched up too. We just can't wear down. Even our lead tech, he is like super stoked. We're still fired up. And this is the reason why you're in this field. How many times have you been on an investigation and you had bupkis? You didn't get nothing at all, but you get that one investigation that sparks that fire back up again. It gets you fired up. It gets you so excited. And you're probably listening to this like, dude, you're freaking crazy. But you know what? When you're out there investigating, you need to be hyped up. You need to be excited. You have to be excited when you're in this field. How many times have you known people on your paranormal team? They join on, and you know you're expecting every investigation to be like the TV shows. Well, it's not going to be. One of the things I like to hear is, watching paint dry is more exciting than ghost hunting. Because most of the time you're just sitting in an empty building in the dark and you're asking questions to invisible people or no one at all. You go back through your recorders, you go back through your data, and you get bupkis. You don't get nothing. You don't get zap, zero, nothing. Then that one investigation comes along. And you're almost to the brink. You're almost to that point where you're like, I'm going to just drop out of the field. I ain't finding nothing. You get depressed. You get just bummed out. Because you've been on so many investigations. And instead of enjoying it, it's turning into work. And you're just getting burned out. But that one investigation comes along and it just fires it back up again. And basically, I've been on several investigations. It's been pretty dead. I mean, we've been getting activity, but not a lot to get you fired up. But this one location Sunday night, I don't know what happened, but maybe it was just because of the storm, just the location itself. It just fired me back up. I am like super excited. I'm ready for the next investigation. I'm just stoked. I'm absolutely stoked up. I'm fired up. I'm ready to go. You guys probably think, dude, you're freaking crazy. We're listening to this crap, and folks, I hope you find this entertaining because I'm just fired up. I'm just fired up, guys. Alrighty, well, I bet a lot of you people are wondering, okay, Kale, you did this exciting investigation. You done all this crazy stuff, but you just brought in just basic recorders and you just use cameras. Why didn't you use all the rest of your goodies that you had? Here's the deal, folks. A lot's been going on in the paranormal community when it comes down with equipment. And what I'm talking about, just recently, I read an article where one of the famous TV ghost hunters, and I'm not going to name him by name, but it was just a big controversy because he said one piece of equipment was made to detect ghosts, and the investigators in the field just pretty much just tore him up. Because there's no equipment that we have that's made to talk to ghosts. Just plain and simple. There's nothing we got that detects ghosts. Hopefully I didn't lose you guys. But the point of the matter is, once we read this, a couple of us in the field, we got together, we started discussing this. And we had to stand back and we pulled out all of our equipment and we're laying it down on the table and we started discussing like, okay, let's look at this K2 meter. Okay, what's a K2 meter made for? Well, it's made to pick up electromagnetic fields. We started discussing how the original K2 meter, when it came out, you had to put a dime in it. You had to put a dime in it just to keep it on. Then we started discussing about modifying equipment. And then it started clicking with us, like, now wait a minute. Here's the deal. These places online that sell this ghost hunting equipment, when I order off my equipment, I order it from these ghost hunting stores. And I won't name the sites off. You know what they are. If you Google it right now, you look up, I want to find a K2 meter, you're going to find several different online stores that you can purchase a K2 meter. But when you get these K2 meters from these businesses, when you click the button, it just stays on. Then we got to wondering, where do these ghost hunting stores get their K2s? Well, we're assuming they're getting them from the manufacturer, or, whatever business makes a K2, the K2 is probably made for an electrician to use. They just turn it on just temporarily to see if there's any EMF, and they just let it turn itself off. So it makes you wonder, so when these internet stores, when they get a K2 meter, do they modify it where it stays on? Then we started looking at our other equipment that we have. And it just hits us. What if all this equipment that we have has been modified? Modified by these stores to sell. And if that's the case, how can I use this equipment in the field to try to prove some form of paranormal activity is happening? That's very discouraging to us. Now, out of all my equipment, I got one gauze meter. I call it the gray brick. Just a small gray box, gray gauze meter. You turn it on, and after a while, it turns itself off. I ordered that from the people that actually make the gauze meter. I didn't order it from one of these ghost hunting stores. So out of all the equipment we got, that one gauze meter is probably the only meter I got. So that one meter, that one little gray gauze meter, with all the rest of the gauze meters I got, is the only one I can use out in the field because it hasn't been modified. Because when those meters came out, they weren't made to find ghosts. They were designed to do a different job. They were just made to find electromagnetic fields. They weren't made to talk to ghosts. Because most people, when they use a K2 meter and they lay it down on the table, they want the ghost to manipulate it to get it to flash lights. That's not what the K2 meter was used for. You now have turned that K2 meter into a trigger item. When you use it as a trigger item, it's now turned into an experience than evidence. You're just having an experience that this K2 meter is going off by itself. You're asking questions, yes and no questions, and it's responding back in yes and no questions. Does that prove a ghost is doing it? No. You're having a weird experience because a K2 meter is flashing by itself for no reason. That's no different if your TV turns on by itself and the volumes change all the time. That's not proving ghosts exist. It's just proving that something paranormal is happening. If you get my drift, it's just proving that the TV is just doing weird stuff. So that was just one of the discussions. So we decided on this investigation, we just stayed basic. Digital recorder, and cameras, and video cam. We just stayed basic. We didn't whip out one gauze meter. And when you get, if we go through the recorders and we get EVPs, that's still not proving ghosts exist. Oh, that's proving that EVPs exist. I mean, you all get my drift. We've already went through all of our photographs of this location, and so far we haven't found anything that's paranormal in the photographs. There's a lot of dust. We got a couple photos that's got dust orbs in it, but nothing that says, hey, I'm a ghost, hello, you got my photograph. Yeah, when it comes with the equipment, a lot of paranormal investigators are now questioning everything we got. It doesn't matter, like I said, if it's a K2 meter, ghost meter, but even with a Mel meter, you can't prove that ghosts exist with it. All you can prove that there's some weird environmental change, but it's been modified. It's a piece of machinery that's been modified. I'd like to say that there is a device out there that we can find ghosts with, but there's not, guys. When you get into the field, as a paranormal researcher, I'm not really out there trying to find ghosts. I'm trying to find the paranormal. And when you're trying to find the paranormal, it just means it's not normal. That's what we're looking for. We're trying to discover what's causing this paranormal activity. Because when you're dealing with ghosts, could it be just echoes from the past, or are we dealing with something from the future? We just don't know. I know I sounded real excited at the beginning. I don't want to sound like a buzzkill. But that is just something I wanted to bring up. Like I said, with this podcast, I really just didn't have like a subject matter to talk on. I just kind of wanted to sit here and BS with you guys. I hope that's okay. I just didn't have a lot to chat about. Just subject-wise, I didn't have a topic. And like EVPs, I didn't have a topic. I just wanted to voice my excitement on the investigation this weekend, and kind of talk about the equipment issue. And I recommend, if you're hardcore in the field, to start researching your equipment. Just you want to make sure whatever equipment you have is made for the usage that it's for. So if you got a gauge meter, make sure it's not been modified and that it does the particular job that you're wanting it to do, is to find EMF, and you noting it down. Yeah, I was reading a blog on Facebook, and a lady, she was using an infrared camera, and she took a couple photographs, and she said she had some claim anomalies that were in the photographs. And, of course, we all know if you post photographs on Facebook that it's going to be questioned. Because they're just assuming if you're posting the photograph, you're wanting to find out if it's really paranormal or not, because you're not sure yourself. So you want this input from other people. So people are asking her questions about her camera. And what cracks me up as I'm reading her post is she doesn't know if her infrared camera has its own light source or not. It's an infrared camera, folks. It's got built-in LEDs for night vision. Yes, it has its own light source. The whole deal is, when you're out in the field, whatever equipment you get, make sure it has an instruction manual with it, and you know that equipment front and back, and that way you can describe it. And you can describe what use it is made for. So if you go to a convention or somebody stops you and say, hey, why do you have this K2 meter for? Well, I bought this K2 meter because it talks to ghosts. Okay, how does it talk to ghosts? And then you're stuck going, I don't know, it just happens. Whatever piece of equipment you got, make sure you know what it does and what its function is. Now, I've gotten equipment. I'm still, like my Ovilus 3, I'm still trying to figure out how to use the darn thing. And I may not even be using it right. I mean, come on, when you get the Ovilus 3 or the new Ovilus 4 that's coming out, you don't have Bill Chappell like, hey, I'm here to help you use this device. I'm going to teach you and train you how to use this Ovilus. Yeah, that's not going to happen. I mean, the Ovilus itself, it's got some instructions with it, but it doesn't tell you exactly how it works. There's so many freaking modes with this Ovilus. So you're just I hate to say it, you're making an educated guess on how this freaking device works. Like I use it in dictionary mode, and it comes up with the word like tree. And there's a little energy scale at the bottom of it, okay? And all the energy scale is just a bar. It has no like 0.5 or 0.4. It doesn't have none of that stuff on there. It's just the bar that if it's strong energy, it goes across the screen. If it's low energy, the bar's real small. And if it goes halfway, you have to assume maybe the energy is just half. It's only using half the energy to make the word. You see what I'm saying, folks? And I admit, I've used equipment before and learned later that, I wasn't using it right. And a lot of it's because you're not trained on how to use it. And most of the equipment you get, you're not properly trained. And I hate to say it, the stuff you get, when I got my K2 meter, it didn't tell me exactly how to use that darn thing. It just came in the box and said, yep, here's your K2 meter. Have fun with it. And it's got all these little dots and stuff on there. But when I got my gray brick, it actually has written instructions on this is how it's used. If you hold the button down, it gets more sensitive. And this is how you measure. It has a scale about how you measure the milligauss. I was like, wow, why didn't all the rest of my equipment come with all that stuff? So I just recommend if you get any type of equipment, even if you have to get online on Google, try to research it and find out what the equipment is used for. But you got to remember, what any type of equipment that you get to use in a paranormal field, you are just testing it in the field, and none of it talks to ghosts. Ghosts can't talk back to you with it. And I don't mean to sound harsh. It's just the point of there's no physical evidence, no scientific evidence that ghosts are manipulating this device. You could be picking up stray signals or whatever, stray EMF off of something else that could be making the K2 flash up, or make the gauge meter beep. You know what I'm saying. Well, folks, I think I'm going to go ahead and tune off. Glad you got to hear me online here. I'm just kind of rambling on. Like I said, there wasn't much to this podcast. It's just kind of me just BSing. I'm just real excited about the weekend. That's pretty much all I have to say. I was real hyped up, and I just needed something to talk about. Something to get off my chest. What's the best way of getting it off my chest about my excitement is to podcast it. That's what podcasting is about. Well, folks, I'm going to let you go. Hope you have a good weekend. Be safe on your investigations. And like I said, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button. Leave me a comment if you enjoy my podcast. Like me on Facebook. And I'll talk to you folks later.